And it's just the price of cars is going. Yeah.
All right, so it's 1 minute after, and I just want to honor your time and just want to thank you all for being here with me today. I'm Nicky Stevens. I am a senior program manager and training with Advocates for Human Potential. I'm a certified public manager and hold a master's and bachelor's degree in social justice and human rights from the beautiful state of Arizona. I'm a Sun Devil. So I'm currently in the beautiful state of Arizona where it's 116 degrees today. So trying to hang in there with some cool weather. But of course, the people that we serve, we have multiple, hundreds of unhoused people in our communities. So I can't even complain. The audio's not working, somebody said. Jacqueline, can you do me a favor and keep an eye on the chat just for me? So, all right. So you can't hear Amber? You can't hear me, Amber? Can everybody else hear me? Okay. Can you thumbs up or something? Okay. All right. Great. All right. Thank you all. All right. So again, I'm in Arizona right now, and I have almost 20 years of experience in working permanent supportive housing, working with people experiencing homelessness, people who have a serious mental illness, working with outreach teams, doing outreach to our unhoused neighbors. So I have multiple years of experience in working with the populations that you all serve. So I'll go ahead and get started. So just to kind of introduce ourselves, who's on the phone, your name, pronouns, and the organization you're with. We'll be using the chat for quite a few things throughout this session, just to have an interactive experience with you all. So your name, pronouns, organization, your position or title, how long you've been in your current role, and if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be at? I don't see anybody typing. Thank you, Heather. Sherry said she can't hear. Thank you, Richard. Scotland, that sounds awesome. Santorini, that's where I want to go, Helen. I heard there's a bad wildfires in Greece right now. Australia, yes. Amsterdam, I'm going to pass through there this summer, but I'm not staying. Vietnam, yes, so gorgeous. Paris, yes. Isles of Man, I've not heard of that. Galapagos, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. Italy, yes, I've been to Italy. It's gorgeous. Food is amazing. New Zealand, I've always wanted to go there. Thailand, yes, I always wanted to go there. Whistler, British Columbia, that sounds awesome. Philippines, yes. Scotland again. Portugal, wow, you guys are going, I'm jealous. You guys have some, really give me some more good ideas. So thank you. It's nice to get to know you all. Wow, thank you for your interaction. I appreciate it. Netherlands, Greece, Hawaii, yes. New Zealand, couple New Zealand folks. Seoul, Korea. Nice. Anywhere there's clear tropical water. I feel you. I need some water right now in this desert. Thank you, guys. I appreciate just getting to know you all, and thank you for interacting with me. Thank you. Okay, let me go to the next slide. All right, so the learning objectives today are going to be permanent supportive housing, the basics. So I know some of you are Sorry, if you could mute your phone if you're not speaking, unless it's me, it's making that background noise. So we're going to go over the permanent supportive housing basics today. I know a lot of you want to be Fidelity reviewers, so this will kind of give you a good head start in understanding those 7 dimensions of permanent supportive housing and understanding the Fidelity model, what you'd be looking for if you were reviewing an organization. We're going to talk about the key elements in permanent supportive housing, why we assess Fidelity, engagement tools for people when they're in housing, because I know a lot of you are, of course, supporting people in permanent supportive housing right now, and what those 7 dimensions are for permanent supportive housing. So permanent supportive housing is an evidence-based, go back. Is it an evidence-based model that connects unhoused individuals to safe and affordable housing and ensures that they have the supports and services that they need and want to keep their housing? So they're not supports that we determine for them. They're the supports that they determine for themselves. And what does it mean to be evidence-based? That means it's based on rigorous research that has been done, multiple studies that have been done. It's led to reliable and positive outcomes for folks, and it's translated into a practical model that we all can use, and it's applicable to the work that we're doing. And Fidelity means it's implementing an evidence-based practice using those specific practices and processes that have been shown to be effective through that rigorous research. So permanent supportive housing is safe, affordable, community-based housing that provides residents with the rights of tenancy under state, local, and landlord-tenant laws, and is linked to voluntary, flexible support services, and it's designed to meet the residents' needs and preferences, whatever those may be. Permanent, that's, part of the PSH model is permanent. So it's a lease. Just like any of us would have a lease in the community, it's based on the same rights and tenancy that any of us would have. So permanent means they do have a lease and they're signed for the minimum of 1 year. Long-term, again, is as long as the tenant meets the basic obligations of the lease, they're able to stay there. And eviction results from lease violations, not because of behavior or because they have a mental illness or because they have a substance abuse. Those evictions would be based on behaviors and not diagnoses. And supportive, meaning it's linked to flexible, individualized assistance and services. So meeting that person where they're at. What are those supports that individual needs, whether it means they need a lot of services or they don't need any services. It's recovery oriented and it's community focused. So we're bringing those services to that individual in their home and meeting them where they're at. It doesn't mean they have to go into our office to receive services. We're bringing those services to them. And then, of course, the most important part is housing. It's safe and affordable. It's regular community living. So it's just like where any of us would want to live or choose to live, and they have privacy and it's their own personal choice of where they want to live. So when we talk about PSH, we talk about PSH tenants, when we do a deep dive, PSH tenants may live in their home, again, as long as they meet the obligations of their lease. It's not tied to any services. It's meeting the obligations of their lease, just like you and I. And PSH tenants have access to the services and supports that they need and want to stay housed. And PSH tenants live in a private, secure place, just like any other member of the community. So again, I'm going to ask you to use the chat. Can you rate yourself a 1 to 5 on your knowledge of permanent supportive housing, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest? And that'll give me an idea of where we're at, and of course, answer any questions that may come up. Ooh, a 5. I'm going to ask you to help me. Number 5. Heather. 2, 2.5, 4s, good. 5, Sabrina, good. Megan, good. I'm glad about the 1s too. This is so helpful because we're all here to learn, and there's so many things that we can still continue to learn and grow as we go through the journey of supporting people in housing. Good. Thank you all. I appreciate you interacting with me. Good. Good, good, good. And this will be a great opportunity towards the end of this to ask it, ask any questions that you may have around PSH. I'll also have some ways that you can support individuals while they're in permanent supportive housing. Thank you all for participating. I appreciate it. So the premise of permanent supportive housing is that participants make their own decisions. So they're not our decisions, it's their decisions of what type of supports they want, where do they want to live, and what kind of housing that they want. And effective partnerships work together to treat the whole participant. So it's not just a one-size-fits-all model. You're using community partnerships, you're using local community resources that are available to treat that whole person, whether that be substance use needs, whether that be mental health needs. We're treating that whole person and using partnerships within the community to do that. And the participants, you're there because they need unbiased information from the staff to make their own decisions. So we're providing them with information just like you and I would be, and we make a decision on how we want to move forward. And the staff's role is to support the person in their journey. Somebody have a question in the chat? The sober housing, such as auction housing, count as permanent supportive housing. So permanent supportive housing, do they have a lease, Wanda? Because part of the permanent supportive housing is a lease is involved. I mean, they could choose if there's a permanent supportive housing program that says, you can stay here and this is a sober, safe place for you, but they can sign a lease and it's not contingent upon them staying sober. Then if there's no leases, then it wouldn't be considered under this model of permanent supportive housing or meet the fidelity of the model for permanent supportive housing. Thank you for these questions. These are good questions, and thank you. Yes, but not a regular lease. They can't be asked to leave if they can't stay sober. Okay. Well, thank you guys. That's important stuff to know going forward. Again, the staff's role is to support the person on their individual journey, again, meeting them where they're at, person-centered care. And the participants need individualized plans because everybody's needs are different. So I wouldn't say, hey, Kevin and I, whatever Kevin gets, I get, because I have different needs. Kevin has different needs. So it's important that we design or an individualized plan to meet that person's needs, not what we think they want, but what Kevin wants and what Nicky wants. Could be two different things. What he wants may not be what I want, and vice versa. Participants' need for housing is no different, again, than any of our other needs for housing. They want to be in a safe place. They want to be connected to the community, and they want to have a lease just like anyone else. And we should be able to, just like any of us, we wouldn't want our landlord coming telling us, hey, you can't have a drink tonight, or you can't have your friend over after 10, any of those types of things. So our participants are just like you and I, and within the PSH model, they have all the rights of tenancy. And some of those key elements, permanent supportive housing key elements are tenants having a lease in their own name and the full rights of tenancy under the Arizona landlord, under the Washington state landlord tenant law. So that's another important piece of this, is understanding your landlord tenant laws within your state or area. The support services are available and accessible, but they are voluntary and they are not required, and they are not a part of the housing. So the person cannot be evicted for refusing services within a permanent supportive housing program that's meeting the fidelity. Leases do not have any special provisions that would be found in anybody else's leases of someone without a mental health disability or someone without a substance use. So it's the same lease. There's not a separate lease for somebody else just because they're in PSH. Everybody should have the same lease. And the rules for housing are the same as for persons without permanent supportive housing. They do not restrict who may visit them or interfere with the person's life within that community. The housing is not time limited. And that's my other question, Wander, for you. Is it time limited for that sober housing? If it is, then it would not meet the fidelity for permanent supportive housing. So permanent supportive housing is just that, it's permanent unless they violate their lease, then, that's something else. And then housing affordability is another key factor, with tenants paying no more than 30% of their household income towards rent and basic utilities, including gas, electric, and water. So what you would do is take whatever that, if they get Social Security, which is like 7 something, they would not pay more than 30% of their Social Security income towards their rent and utilities. That's meaning housing affordability. And prior to moving into PSH, tenants are asked about housing preferences. Where do they want to live? And they're offered the same range of choices available at others at their same income level or in the same housing market. And the housing is integrated. So that means they live anywhere in scattered site locations throughout the community in order to live in communities or buildings where the majority of people do not have a mental health need. So sometimes they, put everybody with a serious mental illness into one building, and they create what they quote called mental health ghettos. This was a long time ago. What we're trying to do is integrate people and make sure they're a part of any community that they want to belong to. And they're integrated throughout the community through the scattered site model, or if it is project-based housing, that they are making the choice that they want to live there with those supportive services on site. Again, it's about choice. So one of the premises is around housing first. Housing first is a homeless assistance approach that prioritizes providing permanent housing to people experiencing homelessness, ending their homelessness and serving as a platform for which they can pursue personal goals and improve their quality of life. This approach is guided by the belief that people need their basic necessities like food and a place to live before attending to anything less critical, such as getting a job, budgeting, or going to substance, or becoming clean and sober. And housing first is based on understanding that the client or participant's choice is valuable in the housing selection and the supportive service participation, and that exercising that choice is likely to make a client or participant more successful in remaining housed. Again, think about any of us, especially I think about the folks here in Arizona who are outside in 115 degrees. We tell them you have to jump through this hoop, you have to get through, you clean and sober before you enter housing. Any of us would be like, forget that. It's housing first. You get them into housing, and then you wrap those supports around that individual and identifying those needs of that individual, and you support them along their journey. So another interactive question. Which of the following describes how you or your organization determines if a person is ready for housing? So these are, and you could add anything else that you want. So do you guys use a written assessment? Do you consult with the person's clinical team? Do you see if the person does well in day treatment or group home first? Do you ask if the person is ready? Or do you not even address housing with people who use your services? Okay, thank you guys for interacting. Okay, we ask the individual and complete an assessment. They express that they're ready. We do a screening. Consult with the clinical team. Consult with the client. Good job. Good. We get referral based on that start work. Ask them questions, what they want to go from there. Consult with the clinical team and meet the client to discuss it. Consult with the client. We ask them. Good. We ask first, then written assessment, consult with client. Good. Okay, good. So it's always important to interact and talk to the person that you're serving to see what they want. So are they ready? Do they have to jump through hoops to be able to access a day treatment program? I'm sorry, to access housing, or are they able just to get into, if they want housing tomorrow, are they able to get it? So that's the most important thing. Okay, so whoops, I'm going too fast. Okay, so another more interaction. So I'm going to do the story of Mona. Let me move. Mona is a 29-year-old woman. 3 years ago, after a 6-year hospitalization, she was discharged from the hospital into a group home. Her behavior in the hospital was often hostile and occasionally suicidal. She refused to participate in group meetings or day activities, calling them child's play. While living at the group home, Mona learned basic daily living skills such as cooking simple meals and using a washing machine. She was re-hospitalized briefly several times, twice for suicidal threats, combined with aggression towards other residents, and once for an overdose of NyQuil, aspirin, and alcohol. She attends day programs irregularly and complains to the psychiatrist about the mental health system drugging her. She often threatens to stop taking her medication. So you could look at that for a minute, because I'm going to ask you some questions about Mona, about how you would serve Mona the best. So you have received a referral from Mona's case manager. Is she a good, so I want you to use the chat for this. Is she a good candidate for a permanent supportive housing program? And why or why not? And what are the issues of concern for Mona? So I say give her options. That's tough. She can't care for herself. She would have the ability to learn some skills. Yes, medical, mental health, substance use, in-home aid. There's a current concern is aggression towards others. Anybody else? I would say she is because she desires independence, although she concerns regarding medications and certain other concerns. As where trusted caregiver may be able to come in. Yeah, good, good. She's a good. You guys are good, good, good. Difficulties in basic skills, but still able to function. Concerns over suicide, medication management. Yes, her housing should be based on need for housing. Doesn't even want to stay in the medical. Thank you, Sabrina. Yes, Mark, exactly. Kyra, that's also good, is, you know, you can reach out to your supervisor and ask questions. No, she's not a good candidate. Why is she not a good candidate, Natalie? She could be a candidate. Need to talk to her about concerns, behaviors, and skills. I feel like she could take care of, she's struggling with trust. I think she could benefit from this. Good, Amanda. Probably work with the client to discuss what their expectations from independent housing. Good. I'm assuming a PAC team is kind of like a assertive community treatment team, which I think would be a good option for her. But again, just a reminder that permanent supportive housing is about the choice, because she could choose to not participate in the assertive community treatment team. Weird, I didn't type that. Yes, along with the continued support to help her be able to be in. Yes, thank you, Jane. Or so it's likely medical assistance. Well, good. Yep, good. All good answers, everyone. And again, what I used to tell my staff, you know, was the supportive services are voluntary and flexible for the people they serve, but they're not voluntary and flexible for us as service providers, because it's up to us to still continue to engage with people and meet them where they're at. And you continue to offer that, even if they tell you no, even if they tell you to flip off, or whatever they tell you to do, you still continue to offer those services, because it could be that one day that they say, yes, I want this. And just that the fact that it could be available to them and it's meeting them when they're at, and and letting them know it's available to them when they're ready. Good, Sarah. Good, Sarah. All right, that's good. That's great. Thank you guys for interacting. I appreciate it. So another interactive question. So name at least 3 of Mona's strengths. And I can go back to the actual write-up. Name 3 of her strengths and how might you use those strengths to address areas of concern? So what are Mona's strengths that you could see from the story? What are those things that she has that you think would be a strength when she's living on her own? Yep, good, good. Basic living skills. Yep. Cook simple meals, laundry, basic. She has a desire for independence, such as learning to cook. Presumably, she may recognize her suicidal thought. Good. Good. Good, Nicole. Good, Sabrina. Those are all things, resilience, yes. All of those things, and I love that you guys were able to, even though some of the things that she's doing, you guys were able to find those strengths and all, you know, and then the people we serve, they have those strengths. It's just trying to identify what those strengths are and allowing that person to find out what those strengths are within them and giving them that sense of hope and independence. Living skills, cooking, good. Thank you all. That was good. So you guys answered that really good. But she could use the way she expresses herself and stands up for herself. Those are things she can use to her benefit to advocate for herself. Because a part of living independent is that you want them to have developed those skills to be able to advocate for themselves, whether that means they're living on their own and the landlord did not fix their sink, or they need a medication change because they don't like the way the medication is feeling with them. So it's all about choice. And I'm so happy that you all were able to find Mona's strengths within that story, even with all of the other things that she has going on, because we all have a lot going on, right? And it's important that we identify those strengths and use those to build upon. So some of the things to consider, you know, when you're talking to your participants is what skills and history does that person have with making choices in general? You know, because we don't know how many of their choices have been taken away from them. So just like with Mona's story, where she's somewhere where somebody's telling her what to do and how to do it and when to do it, that is a lot, that takes away a lot of the person's choices. So when they're put into an environment they may not be comfortable in. So how many options were identified and explored with that individual? So when you speak to them, when you do an assessment with them, are you identifying a person-centered plan and identifying their strengths and what they're good at and building upon those strengths? And how was the information provided to that person? So one of the things too that we need to remember is that when you're offering choices to people or speaking to them, we don't all learn the same. So some of us learn by listening, some of us learn by you know, writing, some of us learn by, you know, doing. There's different ways to learn. So one of the things that I'm always mindful of, especially, you know, during outreach or when you're talking to people, is that when you're giving them all this information, make sure that you're finding out what's the best way that they absorb that information. What is the best way that they learn? So making sure that you're, you know, draw it if you have to. You know, and I've done, you know, many times of speaking to individuals, and they may not even be able to read or write. I've spoken to a lot of people who have just got out of prison. They may be illiterate. They may not understand. They may have a very low reading level. So making sure that the information you're providing is meeting the skill set of that person and they're able to understand and absorb it. Does that person believe in availability and reliability of the support that you're offering? Because they may have been let down so many times. They may have trust issues. And does the person fear making the wrong choice? This happens all the time. So maybe something happened to them and they made a wrong choice and it was detrimental to them, or somebody put them down for it. So they're really living in fear of making the wrong choice. So just thinking about those things, it's just something to consider. And does the person make choices to please others, right? So they're maybe saying, oh, my mom wants me to do this, my brother wants me to do this. So are they making those choices to please others, or are they choices that they value and want themselves? And was their discussion of flexibility? So when you're talking to them about the choices of considering housing, do they want to cook or do they not want to cook? Do they want to live alone or do they want to live with somebody? Do they want to live in an apartment? Do they want to live in the house? So discussing that flexibility with them is extremely important. And does the person believe in their own right and ability to make decisions? Again, a lot of folks have had their decision-making ability taken away from them. So they're not confident in their right or ability to make decisions because of things that have happened in the past. So finding out what's important to the participant. What are their non-negotiables? Like if they say, I absolutely cannot live next to a dog, whatever, or they have strong preferences that they want to live in a college town. And what are those negotiable things that you can talk to them about? What are those things that they're flexible on? So identifying a person-centered plan and meeting that person where they're at. And Heather put in the chat, motivational interviewing and informed consent. Exactly. So when you're meeting with somebody about housing, it's not just, hey, do you want housing? It's, here's the options that are available to you. What do you like? What do you not like? Where do you want to live? Who do you want to live with? It's about finding out what's important to that person and what they will not budge on, what their preferences are, and what's negotiable to them. As we all know, we're living in an economy right now where there's not a lot of choice in housing affordability or housing availability. So making sure that you are working through this with them so that they're able to make an informed choice. And when we talked about when we talk to people who have lived experience of being in permanent supportive housing, they have stated that they had satisfaction with their choice of housing. It's increased their satisfaction and pride in their living situation. They have a more positive outlook on their life. They have appreciation for the supportive services that are provided. They have a sense of freedom, self-determination, and empowerment. And they have stronger linkages with friends and family. And they also have appreciation of privacy and dignity. As we know, sometimes the folks that we've served have either come out of jail, have come out of a state hospital, and they're looking to integrate back into the community, and they haven't had the sense of dignity or privacy or even pride in where they're living and how they're living, or if they've been unhoused for a long time. So understanding that when you get somebody into a permanent supportive housing, they are going to have a sense of pride within themselves, and it strengthens their resolve and their ability to have hope again. Whoops, sorry, that was a double. And for the system to change, the participant is going to have to be given the dignity and the right to fail. So again, just like all of us, when we went into our first apartment, we know it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns. We know that stuff happened. We messed up. We have to be able to fail in order to learn. And if somebody fails once, that doesn't mean they're going to fail forever. If somebody tells you no, that doesn't mean no forever. That means that they may just need some more time, or they need the ability to say, it's okay that I messed up. It's okay if I fail. That is a part of all of us growing and changing and learning. So failure is the other side of success. As long as the system is bound and determined to prevent failure, they're going to prevent success. Again, we all have gone through it, and we all have had the sense of failure in our lifetimes, but we learn from that and we grow from that. And there shouldn't be any sense that someone's going to lose their housing because they make a mistake, because we all make mistakes, and we wouldn't want somebody to take the right away from us to have a safe place to call home. So we're going to go on a 10-minute break, grab some water, use the restroom, and then we'll return in 10 minutes. So that is 1:46. So I'll see you back in 10 minutes.